I was speaking to someone about some of the ways that we avoid our feelings, numb our feelings, and emotional eating was brought up. So I thought I'd make a video and share this. That this is one of the common ways that we handle our emotions, is that we eat when we're stressed or in pain or depressed or any of these uncomfortable emotions that we tend to numb the pain. We tend to avoid feeling this discomfort. We don't want to feel the pain, so we seek pleasure. And we seek pleasure in food. Now, that's not saying that all food is bad or anything like that. But if this is resonating with you, you will know what I'm talking about. This feeling of busy eating or unconscious eating. Like you're not really present when you're eating, and it's more of a stuffing your face. It's this feeling of almost sedating yourself with the food. And this is pretty tricky because a lot of our cultures, food is it's of great importance. I see this even with my family, that it was just this conditioning. If you're tired, eat. If you're stressed out, eat. If you're uncomfortable, eat. It was always this one-stop solution. It was almost like it didn't matter what the problem was, but food is the solution. And if this is the conditioning when you're growing up, then you adopt that same conditioning. And it's hard to even tell what's going on because the family is all in on it. Especially when you see that the family shares the same culture, the same society, conditioning. It's seen as what's normal. So there's this emotional roller coaster. And these ups and downs are very correlated to the food consumption. When you're feeling good, it's like, let's celebrate. Let's eat. When you're feeling bad, well, let's numb this pain. Let's eat. To the point where it gets very dysfunctional. That you're using food as this drug in a way. And this is what actually was happening with myself. It became disordered eating. Until I started waking up to what was happening. How the food was being used as a substance to fulfill this sense of lack, to numb this pain, to seek pleasure. And it's not just food. This video is about emotional eating, but it's not just food. Cigarettes could be used in replacement of food. Shopping can be used in replacement of food. But it's typically some sort of activity that's very compulsive, where it feels like you don't really have control. It just takes over. Takes over, so it feels very much like this unconscious behavior. You find yourself just opening the fridge and you're not even really knowing why. You start eating and you're not really even hungry. You're eating all the time. And unless we go deeper within ourselves and start exploring, why is there this craving for food when I'm not even hungry? This is just some superficial activity. Let's go deeper. When you start exploring and you start seeing how cyclical the eating patterns are, how you see how it's really paired up with certain times of the day, certain days of the week, certain events. And you see how it's this coping mechanism. But what are you coping with? And the willingness to explore that. The willingness to want to feel what's there, that courage to feel what's there without numbing it is needed. This openness to explore, the courage to feel what's there. Without something to numb it or take the edge off. The willingness to not look to food, to try and sedate a feeling, but to feel it fully. To fully feel what's there. Totally. Absolutely. Instead of looking for some food to block it, suppress it, sedate it, cope with it. And sometimes what you'll find is catching yourself when you are about to order in some food or go for a bag of chips or a tub of ice cream, is to question, especially if you're not hungry, why am I seeking this food? What am I trying to sedate? What do I need this coping mechanism? And that's when you're not running from your feelings, but instead you stop and you turn towards your feelings. You start exploring. There's the courage to feel what's there. To feel the raw feeling fully. And then you start seeing how a lot of this going to the food is this activity to feel better, that the food will make you feel better. But what you start noticing is you don't really feel better. There feels like almost like this temporary relief, but it's only temporary. And it's not even relief. It's just something that's masked by the activity, a lot of these flavors, this dopamine high that only lasts as long as you're eating. And when you stop eating, sometimes you feel worse than you did before because now you're too full. You have this feeling of being like bloated. And then these questions come up. Well, if I was already full, then why was I eating in the first place? I didn't even need that snack. Now I feel even more discomfort. So you start seeing this catch-22, that this discomfort arises, then you go to the fridge, you eat, shovel food in your face very compulsively, and then after, you feel discomfort again. Only it's a little different, this discomfort. Before, it was this emotional discomfort that you weren't detecting. And then after, it feels more of a physical discomfort. Too full, you're stuffed. Or the food that you're eating is making you feel like you have a hangover. In a lot of ways, the emotional eating is no different than drinking alcohol. There's this feeling of being intoxicated. That you feel a hangover after the consumption, the same way people feel a hangover after consuming alcohol. And this is just part of the whole activity, this high and low of these emotions. And it's always seeking to feel better. But the irony is that in order to feel better, you have to feel better. And that means that you have to feel totally. And when we look to block the feeling, to reduce the feeling, to take the edge off the feeling, to sedate the feeling, to suppress the feeling, you see we're not really feeling better. It's as if you're not good at feeling, so you don't feel good. But what if you feel everything that's there? What if you feel totally? But then the thought arises, well, it feels like that would kill me. It feels like that's too much, too overwhelming. And then you see the cycle. Typically, there's that overwhelm, and then there's running to the fridge or the cupboard. And like that, it's a cycle. But it starts with the awareness of the cycle, to see this emotional eating cycle. That you want to be free of this cycle. And it's really only when you want to be free from this cycle more than you want to continue the cycle that something actually happens. The desire to be free must outweigh the desire to be in bondage to that compulsive cycle. Otherwise, you feel very much like you are enslaved to this cycle. That you're enslaved to the ups and downs of the emotions. And for a lot of us that have this chronic emotional eating, it's very much because the emotions are all within you and you haven't felt them fully. And they just kind of surface at certain times. They pay you a little visit. But there's this feeling of, that's too much right now. It's overwhelming. It's discomfort. It's uncomfortable. It's too much discomfort, that then we look to the food as a way to cope with that overwhelm, to numb the pain, to fill a void. But what happens if you feel that void fully? What happens if you feel that pain fully? What happens if you sit still in that overwhelm? Just simply be with whatever is arising. It won't happen overnight. But as soon as you stop running, you're already halfway there. Because every time you sit with those feelings, instead of looking to the fridge or the cupboards, running to the coping mechanism, running from the feelings, every time you turn towards the feelings instead of running away from them, that cycle that you feel like you're enslaved to starts decreasing. It doesn't have the same power. That's simply being present with those emotions. You develop this mastery over them. You start establishing yourself as the source of those emotions. And no emotion can overpower its source. So like that, you are simply present and you're being with whatever arises. And you notice that when it arises, it stays for some time, and then it goes away. And it is you that remains. And you are untouched by these emotions. You start noticing that no matter how much pain there is, what you actually are is not touched by it. No matter how much overwhelm, how much chaos, where it might feel like there's this storm or tornado, well, you just remain centered. You are very much like the eye of the storm. And these emotions just simply pass by. It's like this thunderstorm. Dark clouds start rolling in. You start feeling that overwhelm, that anxiety. The energy starts picking up, very much like the winds start picking up when a storm is coming in. And you can feel it in the air. You can feel that energy in the air when a storm is close. You start feeling it. And then the thoughts usually come with it. And the thoughts are usually about that cycle that you're constantly involved in. It starts almost planning out. Like, yeah, when I get home, I'm going to get into whatever it is, your favorite snack. And what makes it tricky is the thoughts are always going to support the numbing of those emotions. The thoughts are always going to direct you away from feeling what's here. It's always going to be these deceiving thoughts. They're so innocent sounding. But they usually sound like, oh, but you deserve this one. Or, yeah, I'll quit this bad behavior tomorrow, next week. But it's a nice day. It's Friday. Let's celebrate. Or I feel so depressed right now. I just need something to pick me up. I know that the pizza or the ice cream is going to make me feel a little bit better. Like I said, it's like this temporary high. And when you look at it, usually it drops you lower than what you were feeling before the pizza or the ice cream. You're feeling a different type of discomfort. So when you feel this, the winds pick up, this energy start building up, the energy kind of feels faster. Overwhelming. Then you just simply be present with that storm. But you be present with that storm not as a person that's trapped out in the middle of a field with no shelter. No, you remain present with that storm of emotions as presence itself. And presence is much like the sky in which the storm peers in. So you just remain as the sky that is aware of the storm, the sky of awareness that is just simply present before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. And just like the sky, it's never touched by the storm. It's not electrocuted by the lightning. It's not wet from the rain. It's in the same condition. After the storm as it was prior to the storm, and nothing changed about the sky. All that happened was a storm just simply moved through it, appeared in it. So like that, the storm is this activity of emotions that's within you. And instead of feeling contracted when these emotions come and looking to this activity to try and find some like refuge or this feeling of comfort. Instead of looking to the food as the comfort, you embrace that discomfort. You embrace that discomfort. And you'll find that comfort after that storm moves through you. It's like seeing the sun poke out, peek through the clouds after the storm. It's that comfort of when the storm clears. So you don't seek comfort as that storm is approaching. You just simply remain present with those feelings as they're arising, the feelings that are rising in you, the feelings that are just simply passing by. But you remain as the sky of awareness that's simply aware of the emotions. Where the sky feels much greater, bigger, spacious, that even how big and scary the storm is, it's still nothing compared to the sky. And the sky is always safe, it's untouched, it's free from the emotions. So you start feeling that freedom. You won't feel it before the emotion, you'll start feeling it after, as the storm passes by and you realize that what you actually are, the presence of awareness, was not affected by that storm. These emotions are just coming and going. They're just passing by. And you didn't run from it. You're used to running from it, but you just remained as what you are. The awareness that's aware of the emotions. The awareness that's aware of that emotional storm that's passing by. That emotional system that's moving through you. And the comfort lies in the fact that you were untouched by it. There's this feeling of safety, stability, security, that's the true comfort that you're looking for. And ultimately, that's what you are, the safety of not being threatened or hurt by these emotions, the stability of not being overwhelmed, shaken, disturbed. The security of not being hurt by any of the pain. That no matter how much that emotions seem to be threatening, you realize that you were totally secure as the awareness that's aware of the emotion. You are secure because the emotion was only temporary, and what you are is permanent. That emotion moved, but you did not move. The emotion was coming and going, but you remain present. So this safety, this security, this stability is the ultimate comfort. That this is actually the comfort that you are seeking in the food. That feeling better is what you are seeking in the food. But like I said, to feel better, you have to feel better. And being present with the emotions and feeling them fully without any reducing of the intensity of the emotion is feeling better. And it's not an overnight fix, but what you'll find is you will start feeling better. When these emotions arise and you don't look to the food, the cycle of emotional eating, but instead you remain as what you truly are. And you face these emotions and you feel them fully. And they just start dissolving. They don't have the same intensity. They no longer have control over you. And you establish yourself as the source of these emotions. Hopefully this helps. See you in the next one.